Hello dear friends, each channel has given its opinion on the new Mayan year, and I give a summary and synthesis of different opinions, providing my professional criteria. Opinion piece. Sowing year. New Mayan year. Yellow electric seed. More creativity and growth. Max the will to be more conscious. The yellow seed is the alchemist gold. The seed I talked about, community to grow. The duality of the yellow race is sovereignty or slavery. 20 countries ask Cuba to respect rights and freedoms. Europe files a complaint against Spain for unfair agricultural trade. Half of all workers work disguised over time. Vatican tries cardinal over financial scandal. Billionaires preparing to flee Earth. Let's start. Monday, July 26th, began the Mayan New Year of the yellow electric seed, characterized by energy of creativity and growth, according to José Argüelles' 30-moon calendar, based on Mayan tradition. The motto of the new year is full attention and listening. I put myself at the service of my being. The previous year was Blue Thunderstorm, which was really a very strange storm because it was characterized by chaos and the permanent challenges of the health crisis. That gigantic challenge, where the capacity and energy to reinvent life in all aspects was put to the test, is now part of the past. However, all that substratum of experiences will serve to harvest what was sown in the midst of adversities. From this chaos, we move on to a year a little more material, where the soil is fertile and well started to sow the new that we want to give birth to. We will see beginnings and we will have news about the world to come. The seed. The yellow electric seed proposes that our own creativity, our gifts and talents be expressed in the world. The task is to grow in one's home and thus contribute to the environment. The seed also reminds us that we must take care of the earth and its original seeds because it is our common home, so that the care of the planet will be one of the fundamental themes of the year that begins. The seed asks to sow one's dreams and desires, even without the given conditions, because the right action is the intention for that desire to take shape. To register the desire and feel it, one must go deep and create a dialogue with one's own essence, spirit or soul. The seed tells us, free yourself from the illusion of security, from false comfort zones, and enter into the manifestation of your emerging potencies. Growth is something that cannot be slowed down, nor can what covers the seed be broken, because it is necessary for a new potency to emerge. The seed talked about a sense of community, where it is important that each member can grow and develop. Mayan calendar. The Tzolk'in, or the count of the days, is the name given by the Maya to the Mesoamerican calendar originated by the Mayan civilization of pre-Columbian Mesoamerica and equivalent to the Aztec Tonalpohualli. The Tzolk'in, the basic cycle of the Maya calendar, is a preeminent component of ancient and modern Mayan society and rituals. The Tzolk'in is still used in the indigenous communities of the Guatemalan highlands and the state of Oaxaca, and those in these communities who foretell earthly events based on the dates of the sacred cycle are called the watches of the days. The Tolkien is the basis of the calendar called the Dream Enchantment, developed by the esoteric author José Argüelles. The Dream Enchantment calendar is an authentic interpretation of the original Maya calendar, although Argüelles himself acknowledges that the Dream Enchantment calendar is a new and syncretic creation, inspired by elements from Mesoamerican and other sources. Predictions. The new year proposes to cultivate spiritual growth, to detect obstacles that block goals, as it will be very easy to see the natural flow of events. The seed marks the will to be more aware of the reality in which we live, because it expands both the good and the bad that we have cultivated within us. That individual blossoming will have an impact on the vocation of service, collaboration, cooperation, and helping others. The electric energy symbolizes that inner light of each being, which should no longer be used for personal confinement, but for a collective work that unites humankind. This is a year that invites us to take care of the human body, of nature, and of what connects us to it. The metaphor is of sowing questions that we are planting today to create new realities. The new stage will consist of the search for creativity, gifts and talents that each human being can bring to the environment. It will not be enough to be, but also to do more. As in life itself, several seeds will have to grow at the same time to appreciate the garden in bloom. Blossoming. The seed represents the generative principle, the blossoming, the rightness, and therefore it is related to knowing how to collect the right ideas and having a broad mind free of fanaticism. To sow what is convenient and to do it in the right furrow of the earth and the right time, providing them to that sowing a good fertilizer and good irrigation, a good sun and good moon, so that the seeds grow and develop little by little in the precise way until they become the final fruit. Spreading fertile, vigorous and appropriate ideas for the moment in question is also an energy in tune with the seed seal, as is learning to take root and reap the results of the sowing. The electric tone of causality and active and dynamic energy identifies the way to overcome challenges. It establishes a natural rhythm and helps us to realize that everything in its dynamics has a rhythm. Rhythm is the foundation on which harmony is based. Tone promotes actions to achieve purpose. It is a tone of movement, change, and energy flow. Those who have this tone in their galactic signature promote, activate, and gather. They are adept at discovering the underlying causes in situations and events around them, as well as foreseeing possible imbalances. One of the purposes of this tone in its facet observing and being useful to the community. The yellow race, to which the seed seal belongs, is in charge of reaping and harvest once the fruits, actions and changes that began with the red race were refined with the white and transformed with the blue. They are now ripe and ready to be picked, shared and enjoyed, saving a portion of those fruits as seeds for the next planting. Their highest frequency point is noon. The duality of the yellow race is sovereignty or slavery. Breaking news. Biden threatens Russia with war. President Biden warned of possible war against Russia because of cyber attacks and said that Moscow is already interfering in the legislative elections to be held in the North American country in 2022. Vatican tries cardinal for financial scandal. The Vatican opens Tuesday a trial around the obscure patches of a luxurious building in London and the web of companies and funds that left a hole in the finances of the Holy See, a scandal that affects the image of the Church. In the dock will be ousted Italian Cardinal Angelo Becciu, who was substitute of the Vatican Secretariat of State between 2011 and 2018. One of the most powerful positions in the Roman Curia and a very close advisor to Pope Francis. The trial is to determine whether the Holy See was defrauded by a group of unscrupulous businessmen or whether it was more of a system of internal corruption involving important church hierarchies. Spanish America. Border Patrol detains 20,000 illegal migrants in 1 week in busiest sector. The Rio Grande Valley in South Texas has for years been the busiest border sector for irregular migrant crossings. But last week, a spike in numbers prompted the Border Patrol to apprehend more than 20,000 illegal migrants in 1 week. Small Colombian town with 88,000 migrants arriving daily faces worst crisis in its history. The tourist town of Necoclí, a municipality in the Colombian department of Antioquia, with access to the Caribbean Sea, is facing the worst crisis in its history after the arrival of thousands of migrants who have collapsed basic services and are waiting for safe passage to continue their journey to the US. The mayor of Necoclí has asked government authorities for help. 20 countries call on Cuba to respect rights and freedoms. 20 countries, including several Latin American countries, joined the US government on Monday in urging Cuba to respect civil rights and release those detained for the unprecedented protests held on July 11th on the island. Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador were among the 20 states that joined in an appeal to the communist government to respect the legally guaranteed rights and freedoms for the Cuban people and release those detained for exercising their right to peaceful protests. U.S. halts some cooperation with Guatemala over the dismissal of anti-graft fighter. The U.S. said Tuesday it is pausing some cooperation with Guatemala's criminal prosecutor following the dismissal last week of the head of a prosecuting unit accused of fighting corruption. Finance. Half of workers do covet overtime. Half of Spanish workers say they still do overtime that is not controlled or paid, with special incidents among the youngest, according to a study by the company InfoJobs. The European Commission opened on Tuesday an infringement procedure against Spain and 11 other countries for not transposing into national legislation the European Directive on Unfair Trade Practices in the agri-food supply chain, whose deadline for doing so ended on May 1st. The IMF downgrades the growth of the Spanish economy by 0.2 of a percentage point. The international organization has lowered its projection for 2021 to 6.2% and raises its projection from 2022 to 5.8%. Thus, Spain will be the fourth fastest growing country among the major advanced economies in 2021, behind the US and the UK, with 7% growth each, and Canada with 6.3%. IMF cuts Asia growth forecast. The International Monetary Fund on Tuesday cut his year's economic growth forecast for emerging Asia. 10-year Treasury bonds at 2%. A bet that the yield on 10-year US bonds will rise to 2% is set to the big trade of 2021. Cryptocurrency ATMs increased by 71% in 2021. There are 24,030 ATMs in total globally, of which 10,037 were installed this year. Ethereum 2.0 passes the 200,000 validators mark, although 8 months after the Genesis block launch occurred last December 2020. Science. There were human beings in Atapuerca 1.5 million years ago. A small quartz flake reveals that there were humans in Atapuerca about 1.5 million years ago, a discovery that advances the chronology of the arrival of the first European population at this site. There is little evidence of human occupation in Europe 1.4 million years ago. Billionaires are preparing to flee Earth in the face of global catastrophe. An article published by the New York Times in 2018 titled "The Rich Are Planning to Leave This Miserable Planet," Michael Suffredini, CEO of the special company Axiom Space, revealed plans for the creation of a new luxury space station called Axiom. Suffredini said living on Axiom would cost $55 million, and not only did he hire world's famous French designer Philippe Starck to create the station's interior, but a major European fashion house would design custom space suites. The station was scheduled to welcome its first guests in 2022. New York University professor Douglas Rushkoff claimed that this curious space race would actually be an escape route for the super-rich. Rushkoff is convinced that combat robots would serve to control the population once the billionaires have left Earth, and also describes Elon Musk's Mars colony as a lifeboat for the elite. Meanwhile, US journalist Jess Zimmerman is convinced that tech billionaires are creating a galactic upper class that will watch what's left of planet Earth from space, according to the Esoteric Paranormal World website. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.